South East Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick.
I'm now joined by a resident economist, Marc Coleman. Marc, there's predictions that by 2070 there could be a population of 12 million people on the island of Ireland. If that was the case, what would it be like living in a town the size of Wexford?
Well, it's already across towns like Wexford, and there's a number of them, between 20 and 30,000. You have Tralee, you have Athlone, you have Wexford. It's already feeling very congested. House prices are increasingly unaffordable, and these are not in Dublin, which is extremely unaffordable. Traffic congestion is becoming unbearable, and city centres or town centres are suffering because people cannot get in and out of the town centre, which means that the visitor experience is not what it should be, and it means the towns are not attracting the level of trade that they need to prosper. If it's like that, Karl, where the population now is 5.3 million, and by the way, we're going to hit, in the Republic, we're going to hit 6 million by 2030. We'll reach something like 8 million on the island within the next decade or two. And the 12 million is very much in prospect by 2070. And we know that because if you look at countries like Denmark or Portugal, which are not very densely populated, they're more densely populated than us. We're probably the least densely populated country outside of Scandinavia. So it may feel that we're very crowded and full, but the problem is planning. We're not actually a full country, but we are planned in such a way that we're not making efficient use of our land. So, some people would say even living in these small towns is becoming very difficult. Well, it could become an absolute nightmare if we double the population in 50 years. So what do we do about it? And there's a number of things we need to do, but in the space of a couple of minutes, I'll focus on three. We must densify. Our towns are beautiful and they're low-rise. We can have a choice between low house prices or a low urban skyline. If we want to reduce future house prices, we have to increase the efficiency of land use. That does not, by the way, mean building high-rise. Far from it. But it means that if you go up at least one story and maybe two stories within the first kilometre or two of an urban centre, you can massively improve the efficiency of land use. And that will drive prices down. The second thing we need to do is obvious. It's provide more public transport. And I'm not saying this from an ideological green point of view, although I would share that view on public transport. I'm coming at it from an efficiency point of view. One of the reasons we can't provide public transport in so many of our towns and cities is because the density of population is not low enough to make it feasible. What does that mean? It means within the square kilometre of every bus stop, there are not enough punters who are going to get on the bus or on the tram or on the Lewis to make it viable. So the Department of Public Expenditure and Reform have been reticent about, supporting some projects on that basis. But if we are moderately densifying the population of towns like Wexford and Tralee and so on, that public transport option becomes more viable. What that allows more people to live in towns without cars. It allows more people to visit without cars, and it lowers the carbon emission of town. And it improves the quality of life because you don't have to spend half an hour in a traffic jam to get to work or to get from work. And the third thing we need to do is improve and beautify the spaces of our towns. I've seen many towns around Ireland where there are derelict sites, vacant sites, brownfield sites. There's so much potential waiting to happen in town and village centre regeneration that will absolutely transform our space. And there are many towns around Ireland which don't look great but could be really great places to live. And if we transform them, we'll do something else. We will increase the number of places that people want to live. And by doing so, Karl, we will spread the pressure of all that population growth we started this session talking about. Instead of being concentrated on too few a number of towns where everybody wants to live in Dublin or everybody wants to live in Wexford Town Centre, if we get that town and regeneration challenge right, we will spread that population growth pressure more evenly across the country, and that will make living in the country much more affordable for future generations of young people.
Well, if you've just tuned in, that was a resident economist, Marc Coleman, and Marc will be joining us again on next Saturday's show.
South East Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick.